Hey guys, Ranger here, and welcome back to a very special episode. We are back with the second half of season 7 of Friendship is Magic. In my chair, I'm sorry, this thing is. There we go. That's more comfortable. Now, I apologize for being so late with this. I really did not know that the season had picked back up. I remember checking before to see whenever season 7 would return, whenever it would come out of its hiatus, and I could not find anything conclusive as to a specific date that it would return. And so I did have a couple of people tell me that the episodes are back. I thought there was just one episode, maybe. And so, or that it was coming up later, just like in a Saturday or two. And then someone told me, dude, you're like 3 episodes behind. And I'm like, oh crap! But they said actually this Saturday would make me 3 episodes behind, and I'm like, I gotta get on the ball then. So without further ado, let's go and begin. And this is to episode 14, FiM and Misfortune. And so I do know that Starlight Glimmer is in this episode, which I'm very glad for. I got my headphones turned around wrong. I thought there was something funny. I do know Starlight Glimmer is in this episode, which is good. And I know that because actually, because of a screw up on my part, because whenever I brought the video up, I meant to hit pause and accidentally had the cursor just off of the pause button, and so it automatically skipped ahead to like halfway through, and it paused at that moment on a screen of Starlight and Twilight. So I'm like, oh nuts. But anyway, let's go and begin. Episode 14, FiM and Misfortune. Here we go! Start video 3, 2, 1, click. Twilight.
Oops! Sorry, Princess Twilight. That was meant for her. Incoming! Whoa!
They're cute.
Tula Rula, coconut cream, what are you doing? That was meant for my ex-friend. I'm not your ex-friend. You're my ex-friend.
Oh dear.
Both of you stop.
This is crossed over into cartoonish nature, and I love it.
Isn't always easy, but there's no doubt it's worth fighting for. Aww.
Cute.
That sounds familiar.
You said that once before. The friendship journals.
Here it is. What is that? Come on, Starlight. Don't judge a book by its cover. This is the friendship journal my friends and I used to keep. It's filled with all the things we've learned. Like,
oh my gosh.
Friendship isn't always easy, but there's no doubt it's worth fighting for.
What happened?
I'll judge a book by its cover just this once.
Oh gosh, that face.
Thanks for coming, every pony.
We gotta rewrite our journals.
What is it, Twilight? Do I need to prepare myself? It's this! What is that thing? Why is it so smelly?
Okay, M.A. Larson wrote this episode. What are we in for?
Is this our old friendship journal?
Yep.
I haven't seen this thing in forever.
Ooh, wait. It's looking a little, overripe.
I'll say.
What
There's a smushed apple in Applejack's lessons.
Huh?
Fluttershy's lessons are so small, you can barely read them.
I wanted to leave room for all of you.
I don't even know what this is.
It is called calligraphy, darling. If you're going to make words, at least make them fabulous.
Looks like you got a little aggressive with your friendship lessons, Rainbow Dash.
What can I say? When I learn something, I learn it hard.
Pinky.
I found Pinky's page.
Well, I am surprised. That wasn't the only surprise.
You can restore it? Ah!
Starlight and I
You organized
decided
them.
to make one for each of you.
That's amazing. A perfect copy.
I learned this spell
Sweet.
years ago when I needed to make copies of a certain manifesto.
Even better than a perfect copy. Oh, I'd forgotten all about this lesson.
Remember this one? For when I helped Daring do? Never underestimate the power of friends who always got your back.
Aw,
Oh my gosh! The callbacks.
Twilight remembered the journal. I had so much fun reading all the stuff you've all learned. I just had to have my own copy. And that brings me to the second part of the surprise. My idea.
Starlight's
How
going
would
to
you
start her
guys
own
feel
journal.
about making our journal available for every pony. If we can get these lessons into other ponies' hooves, maybe they'll benefit from them.
I think that's a great idea. I'm in. Yay!
We always said we wanted to.
Sounds fabulous.
I'm awesome. Good idea.
So raindrops. I have a bad feeling about this. Hey, was it Lemon Hearts and a Minuet? Here we are in Manhattan again. Hey, Ditsy.
No, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Or sorry, Dinky.
Why not? You love playing hopscotch. No, you do because you always win.
Hey, girls. Couldn't help it over here.
Uh-oh.
You might want to take a breather. Maybe read Rainbow Dash's chapter on Rainbow Falls. It might help.
Sure, Princess. Thanks, Twilight. The Friendship Journal's making us super popular.
Oh.
We were thinking of putting together a Cutie Mark summer camp. Now every pony's definitely gonna sign up for it. This is gonna be awesome.
A cutie mark camp is a great idea. Yeah, but the purpose of the journal isn't supposed to be marketing. I just hope those foals actually learn something from our lessons. They will. I'm sure ponies
Here's a
all
screen.
across Equestria will. Whoa!
She's cute.
Hello. Can I help you?
We're here all the way from Philadelphia because we got copies of your friendship journal.
Wow! How wonderful! What was your favorite friendship?
Will you sign them?
Uh-huh.
I guess so. So, what did you think of the lessons?
Oh, we haven't read them. These are keepsakes. We gotta keep them in mint condition.
Wow, that was worth the trip.
Again, Oliver. Okay, yeah, you know you can buy two, read one, keep another one mint, you know? I do that.
Don't worry,
Some
Twilight. I'm sure lots of other ponies are being inspired to be better friends.
Well, I, for one, found the journal terribly illuminating.
I agree. I'm seeing sides of these ponies I didn't know were there. I only wish they'd left Rarity out. She clearly doesn't belong in that book with the rest of them.
Oh, I know. Who does she think she is? Certainly she did a fine job setting up the Ponyville Days celebration, but does she really believe it was a success just because of her? The nerve!
Oh crap! Oh crap!
But that's not what she was saying. Rarity!
Okay, I did happen to catch a couple of people's, not reviews on the episode,
Oh, Rarity.
but comments.
She overheard all the mean things those ponies were saying. She must be devastated. I'm going after her. Go ahead. I'm gonna have a chat with these two.
And that basically this episode is a regard to the fandom, in a sense. Like, harsh criticism, negativity, negative comments,
Isn't it amazing?
negative critique.
Everywhere.
Pinky, I've got to...
Ponies keep stopping by to tell me my entries are hilarious. I even had some pony come all the way from Las Pegasus to say how much you like my lessons.
I am so glad to hear some ponies are being inspired by the journal.
Hey, look! There's Pinkie Pie.
Not everybody will.
Giggly feedback is the best kind.
Well, at least you're getting a positive reaction. I just saw Rarity, and I'm afraid this whole journal thing really upset her.
Aw, that's too bad. Wait, that wasn't even funny.
Okay, well, I guess I'll catch you later.
Yep, bye, Twilight.
Okay.
Classic Pinky. Oh, she's even funnier in real life.
That actually was funny, right? You know me for years. That actually was funny.
Maybe it's time to call it a day.
I whipped out all the Twilight Sparkle lessons because they were getting in the way of the good ones.
What do you mean you skipped the lessons? We've all had valuable experiences.
Hey, here's a great idea.
Oof.
Why don't you guys talk to Twilight for a while? So I can get back to things like working and napping and, well, pretty much anything else.
Oh, we don't want to hear her bowling lessons. Come on, tell us again about when you met Dowie Do.
Again? Haven't we already covered that one? A couple dozen times?
We can't get enough of it. Come on, you don't want to disappoint your fans.
Oh my gosh.
It's just that
Uh.
I really need to get those storm clouds back in their pens.
Oh, cool. We'll come along and you can tell us the story there. Rainbow Jack! Rainbow Jack!
Oh boy.
Oh, what's going on now?
Something with Applejack and Fluttershy, I'm sure. Flutter!
Just leave me alone.
Am I right? Fluttershy, what's wrong?
We want answers!
Yeah, we're entitled to know.
No, you're not.
What is it, every pony?
We want to know why Fluttershy keeps learning the same thing over and over again. Be assertive already.
Even I've learned.
This
more
is a
than she
fandom,
has.
isn't it?
Why can't I be in the book?
What? Really? Are you attacking my friend because you want to be in a book?
It's okay.
Dude.
I got this, girls.
Hey, Twilight, while you got him in the air, just go ahead and...
Listen up. I
Okay,
am
just
more
then
assertive.
dump him in a dumpster.
Yes, took me a while to get there, but can you honestly say that you could learn something one time and completely change who you are? I didn't think.
Thank you, Fluttershy!
Wow. You're way different from the Fluttershy in the book.
Yeah, you
I
mean...
don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, well, screw you.
Oh.
It feels like every pony in Equestria is missing the friendship part of the friendship journals.
No, you just actually opened a portal to view the fandom itself. Congratulations.
Rarity, are you alright?
We're not all this way, I promise.
What are you doing?
She hit.
Why, I'm creating a gown, darling.
Oh my gosh!
What?
I don't know. I'm stress sewing.
Stress sewing?
When I overheard those two at the cafe, I suddenly understood why I've been getting cancellations for days.
What?
What?
Why are ponies canceling their orders?
Because no pony likes me anymore. They're boycotting me.
Oh my gosh, he's gonna have heart. Oh my gosh.
I'm sure if I go out there and talk to those ponies, they'll see that they're being unreasonable.
No, you can't. Oh no.
I need 100 blankets, and I need them now. Sorry, Twilight.
Pony who still likes me.
I love the comedy in this episode. It's cartoon classic
What's
gold.
the matter, Applejack?
I'm popular, Twilight. I'm popular, and I don't like it one bit. You go ahead. I'll stay here.
Actually, that's kind of exactly the opposite, and I love Starlight in this. I love actually that in a sense to some people that's kind of the exact opposite of how they look at Applejack. Hey, it's her. She's back. Oh boy.
Applejack, who are all these ponies?
I have no
They
idea.
call themselves the Sweet Apple Admirers. They say they read my journal entries, and they felt like a part of the family. And now they actually want to become part of the family.
Oh, you cute. Oh,
Your
selfies!
journal entry?
They exist in this world.
Yeah, you know, all the stuff about how friends are like family and whatnot.
Can't you get rid of
Let me
them?
guess, that's going to be posted on Twitter.
Family? Granny Smith, hang on! Let me help! There she is!
Oh, I wish we'd never released that journal.
Ay, 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 ay.
There you
Okay, I just left Rarity. I think she's doing better, and... Oh boy. Window staring, huh? Was it that bad at Sweet Apple Acres?
It's bad everywhere. I thought I was doing something good. I thought I was helping. How could our friendship journal have led to so much anti-friendship?
Oh, Twilight, it's not your fault.
Of course it's my fault. If I hadn't had the big idea to make copies, none of this would be happening. I'm afraid I made life awful for my friends.
I really think you're being too hard on yourself.
Cease publication of the book. Who is it? Oh, freaking heck. What? Oh. Come in, close the door, close the door, close the door, close the door!
I didn't know where else to go. I've got so much cooking and cleaning and familying to do. I ain't got time for anything else.
Those bullies aren't laughing every time you talk. Not even I want to be funny all the time. I'm telling you, my days of hilariosity-ness are over.
You think you?
I think he reminds me of a ghost from Luigi's Mansion.
I'm awesome.
Jarvis, I think it was.
I can't even go to the bathroom without some pony trying to tell me how cool I am. Rarity? My emotions, darling. Stress couture.
I don't know what I'm gonna do if I have to defend myself one more time.
Oh, sorry, darling. Force of habit.
Ow.
Okay, so maybe they are having a hard time with it.
That doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Yes, I did. Releasing the journal was my idea, and it backfired in ways I could never have imagined.
But you didn't know.
It's not your fault. It's every pony else's. They're just focusing on the wrong things, and... Wait here. I've got an idea.
Starlight just pointed it out completely.
I've got to fix this. Every pony, please stop!
Get a bullhorn.
Princess Twilight, I'm with the Canterlot Chronicle. Quick question. What would you say to ponies who wonder why you moved to Ponyville in the first place?
What?
I moved here to learn about friendship. That's why the journal even exists. It took some time for me to get the hang of it, but it was each of these ponies standing next to me who taught me the lessons in those journals. Applejack, Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, and Fluttershy too. Then it was all of you. I've learned so much from...
What I mean is, some ponies would argue that it doesn't seem believable that the six of you would be friends.
Believable?
What?
Well, sure. I read this journal cover to cover, and I have to say, your character would have been much more interesting if she'd stayed in Canterlot.
My character? We are real ponies. This journal is a record of things that actually happened to us. We made mistakes, and we learned from them.
What about Rarity? Are we really supposed to believe she learned anything she wrote in there?
That's why you want to be Team Dash. She's the only one who didn't really need to learn anything because she was already so cool.
Twilight was better before she got wings.
Oh my!
Shy is just so painfully shy, it's hard to relate. I mean, come on.
Wait a minute, every pony.
Are Pinkie Pie and Applejack related or what?
Yeah, they go bowling.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
I never claimed to be perfect.
This is that song.
Mistakes are all written in ink. None of us claim to be perfect, and it's sad if that's what you all think. Our flaws help to make us special. They bond us and keep us strong. Our flaws are what brought us together. So stop acting like something's wrong. We're not flawless. We're a work in progress. We got dents and we've got quirks, but it's our flaws that make us work. We're not flawless. We're a work in progress. So tell me what flaws you got too. 'Cause I still like what's flawed about you. They say I'm a big shot, that my ego's the size of a whale. My confidence comes off as cocky, but it gives me the courage to fail. Sure, I can be a drama queen, a bit stuck up, it's true. And I can be too eager to please. There's such thing as being too honest too, 'cause we're not flawless. We're a work in progress. We got dents and we've got quirks, but it's our flaws that make us work. Yeah.
Doesn't relate to Pinky. I love this song. It's so relatable. Oh man, I love that song. So that's where all the remixes and everything come
So
from.
you see, every pony? None of us ever claimed to be perfect. Without our flaws, there wouldn't be any friendship lessons to learn. Without our flaws, there probably wouldn't be any friendships at all.
And some ponies just don't learn.
So that just happened. Girls, I found 2 ponies who have something I think you should hear.
We just wanted to say thank you to all of you. Yeah, our friendship? Well, we were having trouble until we read your journal. It showed us that friends can go through all sorts of tough times and come through stronger than before. It's made us better friends than we've ever been.
Oh.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't tell you how much it means to hear that. Thank you for telling us. We've had a tough couple of days, but knowing we've helped fillies like you,
It makes everything we've been through worth it.
Absolutely. Fads come and go. Friendship is forever.
There are worse things than not being able to do anything without being told I'm awesome.
And we can't change the way other ponies think about us, but we can change how we let it affect us. Or how we don't let it affect us.
Yes. Haters gonna hate.
Go ahead.
Pony's gonna pone. Aw. Come on.
Reckon we still have to deal with them, don't we?
stay in the friendship moment, Applejack. They can wait a little.
Alright. Alright, I really love this episode. Now, I gotta say, M.A. Larson, man, you the man. You the man. You know how to really touch upon something that is extremely relatable. Now, I remember reading before that this episode was, pardon me. Now, I remember reading some people, comments, I think, both on YouTube. It was on YouTube. And I think it might, I think it's also on DeviantArt, someone, yeah, whenever I logged into my DeviantArt, I remember someone that I follow had posted a journal, and they mentioned something about they love how this episode was basically a reference to the fandom itself, and it is, and honestly, I love the ending, because the ending is something natural, because not everything was completely wrapped up, with the ending. I mean, the episode premise was simple. Twilight found the old journal. She had a moment. She found the journal that she and her friends had wrote from back years ago, which was amazing callbacks. Amazing references to the past. And she found that and decided that it would be fun and good to share the friendship lessons with other ponies, so that way others could learn. It could hopefully benefit others as well. And honestly, I mean, it is completely understandable. I mean, it's completely relatable. Sometimes you can have the best of intentions with something. Sometimes you can have the best of intentions with something, but it does not go well whatsoever. Sometimes you can have the best of intentions with an idea, but it does not go that way. And it also depends. Sometimes you can have you can have a good idea, but it also depends on how someone else interprets that idea. Sometimes a good idea can be a good idea, but someone else can completely interpret it in a completely different manner in which it is not intended nor should be used. And this is a good reference to that as well. And Twilight, the book started being published, and it was really interesting because there were different ponies in this. There were different people that, and honestly, I totally see why people said that this episode was basically a reference to the fandom. And I would say that this is a kind of a culmination of the fandom itself over the years. And you got different people here that are basically pointing out different things within. You got different characters here which are referencing different areas within the fandom. Basically the overcritical, the overly negative aspect of the fandom. And I'm just going to jump to some of these characters here, and I'm just going to point out some of these people. Okay, first off, and I'm just going to start with this little by little. You got people here that did not read the book whatsoever. They just bought it as a keepsake. And again, yeah, that's totally fine, but you know, it's meant to be read. I have a ton of Disney comics, and yeah, I like to keep them in, but I also read them. You know, you can always just buy 2. No harm in that whatsoever. You know, just buy 2 books. It's not going to kill you to spend those extra bits. And then you have the first group of people that Twilight and Starlight encountered, who questioned whether or not Rarity actually learned the lessons that she had learned. Like whether it really changed her character, whether it whether she really learned those lessons, and whether she really kept that. And that basically she believed that whenever she helped out with the festival, that it was her, and that you got people kind of overanalyzing it here. And it affected Rarity. And then you have people here who think Pinkie is just a ball of laughs all the time. And everything she does is completely funny. And then and that's to the people, basically, who's kind of, I guess, you got people who think that everything should be funny. That, you know, maybe there should not be any drama whatsoever. You got people who maybe think there's too much drama and there should be more laughter. And then you got people here, you got these 2 little fillies with Rainbow Dash here. Shoot, I didn't get a screenshot of those other 2 characters here. Then you got, sorry, I didn't get a screenshot of those other 2 characters. Okay. And then you got the people, these 2 fillies here, who kind of makes me think about that, whom just want to isolate, just select stories and just focus on that. And they didn't want to read any of the other parts with the other characters. They just wanted to focus on that one specific character. And I'm not going to say that's a bad thing, because we're all guilty of it. You know, we have our select favorite characters, and obviously whenever you're reading fan fiction, you're going to choose the fan fiction typically that has your favorite character. So I can't really fault them for that. But you know, they were they considered everything else outside of their main favorite character boring, and they weren't interesting. They weren't giving it a shot. And the really interesting thing here, again, these people here who were questioning Fluttershy and how long it was taking her to actually develop her character, and how long that she had been working with her character, basically, and how they were telling her, stop being so shy, be more assertive all the time. And again, I see people within the fandom that has made mentions about this, that Fluttershy, like, she's not really holding on to that assertiveness, that she's still shy sometimes. And then I've seen the exact opposite, people saying Fluttershy isn't shy anymore. And this one dude, whenever he says, I don't know how I feel about that, you know, that's basically some people's views on not just Fluttershy, but some of the characters. I don't know how I feel about this character's development now. You know what? People, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, and again, the one thing I want to say here is, this is very much, I mean, I can see all of this within the fandom. You got people that are overly critical. You got people that analyze characters. You got, now, I consider myself a critic. I consider myself an analyst. I consider myself a reviewer. But whenever I analyze, whenever I review, I try to delve into the character's psyche. I try to understand the characters and try to find a sense of relatability that I can more delve and understand the characters. And sometimes I don't even have to look for it, because I can see the relatability right off the bat. And being in this fandom as long as I have, I can see where this episode goes with this. It's a take on the fandom. Essentially, you kind of got... Essentially, it's putting the fandom into this world. They're seeing these characters, they're interacting with these characters. Fluttershy is dealing with people who think that she's not learning anything, who think that she's not being as assertive as she should be, and that over the seasons, over the past 6-7 years, that she should be more assertive than she is, but they feel that she's not. And then you have people who feel the exact opposite, that Fluttershy is not shy anymore, that she's not the same character. And then you have people who also feel that some of the characters, not just Rarity, I'm sure, but some of the characters just don't learn their lessons, and that they don't take it to heart. They don't keep in mind they don't keep in mind those lessons. And you know what? I'm just going to say this much. This song here, Flawless, it honestly is true. Every single one of these characters are designed to be flawed, and that's the unique thing about this show. None of these characters are perfect, and that's one of the reasons why I myself and so many others love the characters within the show, why we love the show itself. These characters are not painted to be flawless characters. They're not painted to be perfect. Every single one of them has flaws with their character. And there are moments whenever they have to overcome those flaws, whenever those flaws come to light and they have to overcome those flaws. Those flaws become hurdles that they have to climb over. And sometimes they don't learn something the first time. They have to experience it again. Sometimes it takes longer for a lesson to sink in. This is relatable to real life. None of you, nobody in this fandom can tell me, okay, there might be a couple, and if there are, okay, yeah, good for you. There are times whenever you learn something, sometimes it takes just once for you to learn it. But again, it's not just something you can take in all at once. You have to build. You have to grow. You have to take that in and slowly evolve yourself to accommodate what you just learned. You have to slowly work into your psyche. Essentially, it's like growing a garden. People are like flowers. These characters are like flowers. You can plant them. They're not going to grow and be beautiful overnight. It takes time for them to grow, and it takes time for them to grow and evolve. These characters are like that. People are like that. We can't evolve at the snap of your fingers. We take time, and some of us take longer than others. Like these characters, we too are flawed. And I think it's interesting that whenever people criticize these characters, a lot of the times I think to myself, these people are not looking at themselves, because there have been times they too have been referred to as being flawed. They just don't want to see it. They tune it out because sometimes it's easy for people to give criticism, but they don't want to. But they can't take it. And I really see this with the fandom. And I am not. Before anyone says that, I don't believe that this is a reference to the fandom today that hits all bad. I do not feel that way, no. But I do feel that this episode is a reference to some of the bad areas in the fandom. And there are good areas. I will say that, and I don't want anyone to think I don't think otherwise. There are good areas in the fandom, but there are people in this fandom that are overly critical, that are overly negative. There are people whom you cannot argue with, who have their own set mindset, and they will force that opinion on you. Now, yes, I have my own personal beliefs. Personally, I love Starlight Glimmer. I know some people hate her guts. I'm not changing my mind to make you happy. I still love the character. I can relate to the character. But I'm not going to Derpy Brew, I'm not going to DeviantArt, I'm not here on YouTube making videos talking about, like, constantly professing why I love this character. I'm not doing that. I have my own opinion, but I don't want to shove it down other people's throats. That's what some people do. They want to shove their opinion regarding these characters down others' throats, and they won't see that they can't understand other people liking these characters, and they hate whenever other people like the characters that they hate. And I don't agree with that. I'll just be flat out honest, and you can hate me for that. I don't care. This was a very interesting episode, and I really love it. I really feel that this is a message that the fandom needs to hear. And I know some people, and it's comical because some people are so completely clueless, this episode will completely go right over their heads. And they just won't see it. And some people I know will hate this episode simply because it's calling them out. You know what? If you've done something that puts you basically on this, then obviously you're part of the problem. I love this episode. This was a dose of reality. And there's so many things in this. And I can go over each of them. Again, this one fellow that questions that seems it's improbable for Twilight to be in Ponyville. That he thinks that it will be interesting if her character had stayed in Canterlot. Again, it's funny because there are people who I know feel that way. And it's interesting because you got these people here which are pretty much like some of the more harsh, more negative, more overly critical analysts and reviewers within the community. Now, personally, I don't know any. Now, I'll be completely honest. I don't know any. None of the reviewers that I follow, that I watch on YouTube, that I am subscribed to, that I follow, none of them that I am subscribed to, I feel are this. I don't feel any of them are this. But, and I'm not saying that they're perfect reviewers either. We all are flawed. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. I have tons of flaws. And I don't want anyone to think that I am a good reviewer, that I am a good analyst. I've screwed up tons of times. I know for a fact I've screwed up in this video. I'm expecting to screw up. But this guy thinks it's more interesting. And again, it's funny because this is pretty much like Brony's like coming into Equestria, and this is what happens: being overly critical, being overly negative, analyzing way too much with the characters. And this guy's saying, I think it'd be more interesting if she was stayed in Canterlot. You didn't write the show. Like, to those who think that you didn't write the show, you know, stick with fan fiction. You can do fan fiction. You didn't write the show. You can, I mean, if you want something different, then go out there, make your own show. You can't change what has already happened. And I mean, what has happened has happened. There's nothing you can do. And some people saying, I like Twilight better before she was an alicorn, before she was a princess. Oh my gosh, how many times I remember whenever Twilight got her wings. Oh my gosh, the fan war between the fandom right there. Just the crap storm that developed from people saying that I don't like Twilight being an alicorn. I remember making a post on Derpy Burrow in regard to that. Actually, it was with Flash Century, actually, but it also applies to this. And I made a post on Derpy Burrow in regard to a picture, and people were just like constantly bickering back and forth about it. And I made a post, and I said, if you keep complaining, how would you feel if at some point, with all the constant bickering and complaining that you're doing, they just decided to cancel the show after this season? And it was your fault. How would you feel knowing that you would have tons of other bronies against you because you got the show canceled? How would you feel about that? Would you be happy? You would forever have people constantly tracking you down because you screwed up big time. And yeah, there are people saying, Twilight has her wings. There's nothing we can do. I'm okay with her having wings. I'm okay. It does not bother me. It does not affect her character to me. It's a new step. It's a new learning curve. And again, there are people right now. There are people in this fandom like this that still today say, I don't like this aspect of this. You know what? Yeah, okay, it's natural. There are some times with every show, we're not going to like some aspects of them. But constantly bickering and complaining is not going to change things. Constantly bickering and complaining is not going to change the way that the story is going. We can't just have Twilight suddenly in the next episode have her wings gone. It makes no logical sense, and it takes away from the character that is developing here. And there are plenty of, I mean, just because she has her wings, it doesn't take away from her character. In fact, it adds more probabilities. It adds more possibilities. Now, Twilight can actually fly. Now, I mean, we've had Twilight and Rainbow Dash flying together. That's cool. That's awesome. Again, I think back, it kind of makes me think, and I'm going to use this as a comparison. It makes me think about Kim Possible. Whenever Kim and Ron were dating, a lot of people wanted these two to hitch together. A lot of people wanted those two to get together. And whenever they started dating, it added a lot of probability. I mean, I didn't have a PC at the time. I don't know what people. I'm sure there was some people that were probably annoyed because Kim didn't go with Josh Mankey. But I remember, like, I loved it, and I said, "There's a lot of possibility here," because they had chances that they took of having Kim get jealous because Ron was hanging out with what was it, Yori, that Japanese girl, and like, there was some really good moments that they were able to take advantage of that they would not have otherwise been able to have had it not been for writing it in the story that they got together. And that's how I feel here. And again, I really love this episode because of how that it looks at the fandom itself. It looks at some of the overly critical, overly negative aspects of the fandom, and then you got that you got those little fillies that make a mention about come to side Rainbow Dash. There are people in that fandom, yeah. I mean, I've seen it. There are people in that fandom that are like, hey, you don't like this ship? Hey, you don't like what's going on here? Come over to this side because, yeah, we're perfect, yeah. No, you're not perfect, dude. You got flaws, too. Every single thing has its flaws. And the thing that I really like about this, and again, this song is true. And it's true not just for these characters. And I think that's something that like, this is something not just for the Brony community, not just for the overly critical, overly negative people within the Brony community, but it's perfect, this song, as a whole, to people, to humans in general, because we too are flawed. There are tons of retards out there that have this mentality that they're just perfect, that they're just perfect little angels. They've never done anything wrong. They never will do. That is your first mistake right there. That is your first flaw right there, thinking that you will never screw up, thinking that you're perfect. You're not. None of us on this planet are perfect little angels. We're not perfect. Every single one of us are flawed. If we were cars, we would have so many dents and dings and warps and bends, it would be pathetic. We are flawed. We are flawed. The human race is flawed. Every single one of us has flaws. And I challenge anybody to say, I'm perfect. I don't have any flaws. You know what? If you're that kind of person, get off my channel, because I don't want to have any association with someone who has that mentality, ever. I have flaws, I'll be the first to tell you. I have flaws. Every single one of us does. Every single one of us, not just in this fandom, but outside of this fandom, we all have flaws. Every single one of us have flaws. We have flaws in our personality, our viewpoints, the things that we do, the things that we say. We're flawed. In so many ways, in so many areas, we're flawed. And these characters are flawed as well. Like people, these characters are a good representation because, like them, we too, there are times whenever our flaws come to light, and it becomes a hurdle that we have to overcome. Sometimes it takes a while for us to learn. Sometimes it takes a while for us to learn how to overcome that hurdle and how to develop our own character. If this life was a book or was a TV show, there would never, ever be a point to where our characters would be fully developed. We are always developing our characters. Always. And the characters here, yeah, it's been 7 years, so what? How long have each of us been alive? We're not fully developed. The 7 years, technically speaking, it's still in its infant stage. How long have us been alive? How long have each of us been alive? We're still flawed. We're not perfect. We're not developed. We're not fully developed. The characters here have flaws that they have to overcome, and that's us. We have flaws that have to be overcome. Sometimes you learn more slowly than others. You learn differently. You learn at a different pace. Nobody should expect somebody, or that everybody should learn something at the same pace. It's not how it works, pal. It's not how it works. Everyone has a different pace at which they learn something. Everyone has a different pace at which they develop. And everyone has a different understanding with that. And this song, Flawless, or Flawed, they acknowledge that they're flawed. And I feel, again, that this right here is kind of referencing the characters, like the Rainbow Dash segment. Yeah, there are people out there who doesn't like Rainbow because they feel she's too cocky. There are people out there who don't like Rarity because they feel she's too much of a drama queen. There are people out there who don't like Applejack because some people, I think, view her as a stereotypical, like, country girl, as a stereotypical country gal. Some don't like her because they feel like about her points of views. Some people don't like Pinky because they feel she's too energetic, or that whenever she loses her friends, that she becomes depressed. I can relate to that, okay? Some people don't like Fluttershy because they feel she's too meek, she's too shy. Some people don't like her because they feel she's too assertive now. And I just realized this one segment. Oh my gosh, I just realized, it just hit me, this one segment here with Fluttershy. Sorry, getting off track here. My train has to pull into a different station here. This moment, I just realized it. This moment, whenever Fluttershy is, like, lifting herself up out of this shell under the sea. Like, I don't know if this is a reference to The Little Mermaid. It could be, like, The Little Mermaid transcending from being cooped up within her. Well, okay. Okay, it's a reference to coming out of her shell. It's a reference to coming out of her shell, you know. But you could also interpret it like the Little Mermaid, like being stuck within one life, feeling as though that is the only life, and then she transcends up to the surface, you know, meeting Eric, and then like she's like she is able to have this whole other life outside of the one that she had, and that's kind of like Fluttershy. You can also, I don't know, reference to like Birth of Venus or something because of the shell. But anyway, yeah, and then you have people that just don't like the characters because of what they've learned over time, and how some of the characters don't feel that they have learned their lesson. Again, there are times whenever, there are people that it has to be pounded into our heads before we will learn something because we're too dang stupid to learn it the first time. And then there are people, legit, who just don't learn it. No matter how many times it's pounded into their empty cranium, they just can't learn it. And the ending for this, I think, is a really good reference for that. This is one of those open-ended endings. And the unique thing about it, again, the ending right here with these two little fillies that were able to recounsel and their friendship was able to grow. This is something right here, again, I can relate to. The book being published helped these two fillies. And it felt good. It felt good because regardless of what and all they went through, everything that they went through, they helped these two little fillies to recounsel their friendship. And it was worth it to them. It was worth it to them because they were able to help two ponies with the book that they published. And this is something I really think, like, I can understand this personally. I feel that this is like the writers. They know whenever they write a story. Every single writer knows whenever they write a story for the show that not everybody is going to like the episode. And every single episode is taking a chance with the story, with the content, with the way the story goes, with the character that it focuses on. They're taking a chance. and they know that they've been working on it long enough. They know that they know every single episode takes a chance. Obviously, they got the reviews from past episodes to be able to view and understand what people more favor in terms of story, in terms of the character development, in terms of the situations that the characters are put into, in terms of the meta humor that they put into it, etc. But they also know that the fandom is I really think that they know that the fandom, or they believe that the fandom is intelligent enough to know that this episode is a reference to them. It's a reference to some of the more negative aspects of the fandom. And I don't feel whatsoever, and I'm sure that there are some people out there, some idiots out there who will feel that way, that this episode is like insulting the fandom. No, I do not believe whatsoever that this episode is insulting the fandom. No, what I see in this episode is I see the characters and I see the writers. I see the writers in the characters I see the writers in the characters. And at first, it's hard. Yeah, I mean, like, you put something out there and that you think is good. You hope others can benefit from. And this goes like for fan fiction. This goes for art. This goes for music. This goes for animation, like fan made. And then you have overly negative, overly critical people that begin to analyze it and begin to make it like you feel so worthless. You feel like you can't do anything. But then you have just one person. You have maybe just a few people who tell you, "I love it. It's good," and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. Now, I'm not going to say that you should ignore all criticism. But there are two kinds of criticism. There's constructive criticism and negative criticism. Negative criticism I think personally should be ignored because it's mostly just negative. Constructive criticism, whenever done right, helps to point out the good and the bad of something in an effort to help you to grow. It points out the good and the areas that needs improved on. That's the kind of criticism that I personally enjoy. And I like to see, because again, it's done with the intent to help someone grow. Getting comments that just says this sucks, that's just negative, harsh criticism, and that should be completely ignored because it has nothing that you can take from it to help you grow. And so, but that's kind of what it is here. You got people that feel different ways about different things, and some of them are not meeting in the middle. And that, again, that's people within the fandom, and not just within the fandom. That's basically anywhere. You got people who continue to let their viewpoints overrun, and they don't want to let some people just don't want to, and that's also the fandom here, and other people in general in life, tons of them. That they're not open-ended. They're not open to the concept that other people have different opinions and beliefs than they do. They're not open to that. They don't understand it. They don't like it. They want people to agree with them, or they're meaningless, or those people have no use in their life because they don't see the same way. They don't see the same thing that they do. And there's people out there like that. And also within the fandom that, like, hey, you know what? Like I remember once before, it's been a long time ago. I remember someone once before made a mention to me in a comment. They said, "I can't believe," like, to me, they said, "I can't believe you like Soren and Rainbow Dash," and they said, "I'm unsubscribing for that." I replied and said, "Okay, goodbye." Like, whenever you're actually going to let one little view on something, one little idea or belief that someone has, keep you from enjoying the rest of what that person can do, of who that person is, it's your problem. It's not theirs. It's your problem, because you're limiting yourself simply because you want that person to be perfect. You want that person to see everything the same way that you do. That's not how it works. And this is interesting because essentially this, with the characters here, to me, is like, it's not just for the characters, but it applies to friends in real life. Real friends understand each other's flaws. They don't expect them to be perfect. They don't expect them to be exactly like them. They don't expect them to be perfect. They understand each other's flaws. They know each other has flaws, and whenever they can, they will help each other overcome the hurdles that each other's flaws will create. They help each other. They don't put each other down. And this right here is exactly, this to me is that. And this is also about the characters here. This is also about, I think this also, the ending particularly, doesn't just apply to the writers, about how to deal with that criticism, about how to deal with that, about how to deal with that negativity. That, you know, just live in the moment for the people that do enjoy it. And honestly, I can relate. For example, I know for a fact that, like, for example, I remember once before, just saying as an example, like with the Disney reviews that I do, I know there's quite a bit of people that actually like them. But I remember once before I had someone comment me. They private messaged me, and they commented and said, "I don't like all of this Disney crap that you're doing. When are you going to get back? When are you going to continue with MLP?" I replied to this guy, and I said, "Dude, I'm also a Disney fan, like it or not." And I said, "I'm not going to limit myself just to one thing. I have other interests as well." And I said, "You don't have to watch those." I said, "You don't have to watch those." I said, "You're not forced to watch those Disney videos." And this is something that I feel is extremely true. That I mean, like, honestly, if you have 10 people that like something that you do, and you like, if you have 10 people, 9 of them like what you do, and the other one does not, logic sense will say you're going to go for the majority. You're not going to go for the minority. If you can't please everybody, no matter what you do, you can't please everybody. You just have to find the group of people that you want to please, that you want to appeal to, and just do your own thing. Like, don't stray away from who you are. Don't stray away from your natural sense, from your natural self, just to try to please others. Do your own thing and find your own audience, and then stick with that. Trying to change trying to change yourself, trying to change how you do things, to try to appeal to other people isn't always, I mean, it's kind of a bad thing, because because you can only change so much. And real people will like you for you. Real people like will like your stuff because of your creativeness, because of your talent. But trying to keep an audience who is on and off, it's not going to work and should not be done. And the ending here, particularly with the characters, again, I feel that this is very much this is honestly relatable, because this is an open end. This was not a happy, conclusive ending. 100%. It was happy for the characters, because they're like, you know what? It doesn't matter. You know what? Because we were able to help someone. Someone did enjoy it. And then you have all these town's ponies outside bickering about different things here, about the characters and such, about their, like, shouting their opinions back and forth. This is essentially like a message board. This is kind of like some images on Derpy Brew. This is like some videos on YouTube. People bickering back and forth over their opinions. Some people are actually using logic. Others just don't want to hear it. They're like, I have an opinion. My opinion matters above all else. And my opinion stands. And I think this sucks, without giving a reason, a logic reason why. I think it's just, I think this, and that's that. It's conclusive. No! Some people are like that. And again, I love how this did not end with everybody getting a happy ending, because it's natural, because, we're not going to have a happy ending with this fandom. It's not going to be a happy ending. It will be a happy ending for some, but it won't for everybody. As much as we wish everybody could just be happy and get along, it's not going to happen, because, again, people are flawed. Some people are too egotistical, are too self-centered, are too self-absorbed in their own beliefs, in their own opinions, to see other people's understanding, to see other people's viewpoints. And they don't want to see other people's viewpoints, because some people think other people are wrong. And again, I can see that within this fandom, and I can see this episode is a reference to that, and I can totally see that. And again, I apologize truly if there's something that I missed. But yeah, again, everybody has, like, I apologize if I missed anything. Again, that's my flaw. Everybody has, though, a different view. Everybody will understand something differently. And so again, I apologize if there's anything that I missed. I know other reviewers are going to see things better than I do, and I understand that, and I know that. All I can do is all that I can do is to try to keep getting better, because that's my hurdle. I'm not good at what I do, and I try to keep learning. I try to keep evolving. I'm not going to do it overnight. I'm not going to do it within just an episode or two. It takes time, and it's like I have evolved now from where I started. I have evolved. I do feel that I am doing better with the analysis and reviews that I do, but I want to get better. I want to keep improving for you guys, and so. But again, going over the different aspects with this particular episode, it's really interesting. I love this little opening with Twilight just walking along. It's very cute. And we're introduced to these other little fillies here, and again, it's kind of interesting because it's like the little child like bickering. You know, where two friends are just kind of bickering back and forth, and you know, kind of. I remember seeing that before of like two kids like they're very easily agitated. They're very easily to the point where like, you're not my friend anymore, yada yada yada. You know, it takes some time for that to mature, but I do feel that they did in the episode. And it was also hilarious. I love that moment whenever Twilight's just standing there in the middle, and she's getting this ice cream thrown at her. I felt that this was like a very cartoonish style, a very cartoonish nature, with how Twilight's just standing there. She's like, all this ice cream is being tossed at her, and I love how that they did not take into concept that she was like I'm throwing ice cream at royalty. I'm throwing ice cream at a princess. No. I'm really glad that they did not do that, and that it was like, no, she is a normal character. Like, she's normal Twilight. She just has wings, you know. And I love how they did that. And again, Twilight tried to help them. And she had that moment where she realized, oh, I remember reading or saying that. And then she brings out the old friendship journal. And oh my gosh, the memories of Twilight writing the friendship journal. The memories whenever Twilight decided that every pony should write a friendship journal. Oh my gosh, the memories for that. And I honestly thought the path that they were going to go with here was Twilight was going to say, you know what, Starlight, you're going to start writing a friendship journal, writing about your own discoveries, your own lessons. Nope, that wasn't it. And it kind of like, it hurt, honestly, like as a collector and such. And I don't want to consider myself a historian, but like I love the concept of like preserving history, things like that, you know. Like I saw this book in the poor shape that it was in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the history, so much history, and it's decaying away. And I love Starlight here, how she was just, I love how her character was in this, how she was included with this. And again, it was interesting that how the book had like different aspects with the book. Apple, oh, I see the fruit bat, okay, yeah, like the fruit bat, with like the fruit bats whenever they got to the bats episode. Okay, the screen cap with Rainbow Dash here I have to show is what's like, what did I read? This is essentially whenever you read a weird fan fiction and you're like, what? Like I just have to include this because it's like whenever you read a weird fan fiction. It could also be like whenever you're really invested in one and you're waiting for the next, and you're just wondering what's going to happen, like a really angsty one. Okay, this other screen cap that I just got with Rainbow Dash, this is the face you make whenever you see something weird in a fan fiction. This is also, my gosh, you know, there's all kinds of screens here. This is also the face you make whenever you, like, what did I just read? Did they really do that? And again, it was hilarious. I love that little moment where Rainbow was just like holding it for Rarity, like, what is this? It's kind of funny because like Rarity was using calligraphy. She was using a different she was using a different hoof writing style to try to be elegant and such. And Rainbow's like, what is this? I can't read this. It's cute and comical. And that moment whenever Applejack made the mention about the Rainbow Dash's lesson, and Rainbow was like, what can I say? Whenever I learn something, I learn it hard. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine how artwork is going to take advantage of that idea. I can only imagine. And it will. It will. I love that moment whenever Rainbow makes a mention that she found Pinky's chapter. Like you just knew it immediately. And I was really happy whenever Starlight was able to, whenever she was able to copy the book and make it make it full, whenever she's able to make it fully restored, and then whenever she like clears her throat because she reveals that she had to use that spell to she had to use that to copy a book from earlier. We know from her past, and again, she's like, I mean, again, she's still uneasy about what had happened before, and you can see that. Like, I'm sorry, but again, it was really interesting hearing the different things and the callbacks to the past. It's really cool. And really awesome to just hear that. My gosh, again, it's interesting to think of how far things have developed 7 years ago. My gosh, since the beginning. And whenever the CMCs decided they were going to start a Cutie Mark camp, I thought that was a cool idea. I'm not really sure. I'm uncertain how that's going to go about. Like if that's going to be a thing that they're going to continue with in other episodes, or if that's just going to be like a once-off thing, like a one-off thing, like it'll be mentioned in this episode and then never mentioned again. But again, it's kind of interesting, like how how Twilight and Starlight reacted with hearing what these other ponies were saying about Rarity. It kind of made me like, this is kind of that moment, honestly. Like, imagine. And I know some people can relate to that possibly. Imagine having written something or did a video like on YouTube, and you're just walking through and you overhear somebody make a mention about that video, or make a mention about that fan fiction, or that piece of artwork, or that piece of music, or that animation that you made, or that novel that you wrote, and you just you hide and you're just kind of listening, and you hear them kind of criticizing it. Yeah, it hurts. Like, you feel your heart just sink. You're like, all that work I put into it. And so, yeah. But again, it was really interesting whenever they overheard what they were saying, and like, did you really learn those lessons? And Rarity just happened to be there and overhear it. And oh my gosh, like, you can see the hurt in the poor gal's face. And these people, again, just overly critical, overly analyzing, and it was interesting. Again, whenever Twilight says she's going to go after them, and then Starlight says, I'm going to have a chat with these ponies. I have to check to see if they were ever seen again. They might not have been. But then again, I support Starlight here. I support her idea. I have a shovel, and I've got I can dig a couple of 6-foot deep holes. But again, oh my gosh, this cartoonish style whenever Twilight runs into Pinky. I just now paused at the perfect moment to catch the pink ball. The pink ball, the pink and purple ball. It looks like taffy. It looks like taffy with googly eyes glued on. And then, yep, this screen will also be taken advantage of. I know this will also be taken advantage of. I'm just going to because, yep, I know how art goes. And again, it's interesting because Pinky made a mention about how popular that she is, and immediately my first thought is it's going to backfire. It's going to backfire. It's going to backfire. And then everybody started thinking Pinky was just comical with everything she did, everything that she said. And it began to get annoying quickly because suddenly every pony thought that Pinky was funny, just everything that she said. And again, I've seen a reference to this. I remember seeing something like this. I can't remember what show that it was in, what movie that it was in. But I remember seeing something like this where like people were laughing at something somebody else was doing. And they're like, it's not funny. What I'm doing is not funny. Yet they would laugh anyway. I remember seeing something like that before, but I don't remember what it was in. But again, the one comical bit here was whenever Pinky said, you know me forever, or something like that. And I mean, that right there was actually comical. And then you had the Zoophiles, who, again, they were idolizing Rainbow Dash. And they just wanted to focus on that one particular story. And they just wanted to focus on that one particular story. And then that one little moment where that brash little filly was like, we'll just follow shoot, me trying to get this screen. Where like they want to hear that story again. They're like, you wouldn't want to disappoint your fans, and that expression that feeling makes. She is going to have problems later on in life. She is going to be a problem child unless someone smacks her upside the butt and straightens her out. She's going to have problems. She's going to grow up to be like Diamond Tiara's mom. She's going to be I mean, she's cute in her design, but yeah, like, yeah, the personality, yeah, definitely gonna have to smack a filly. But again, I really love some of the faces that the characters are making here. Just this little ear droop with Twilight here, just a little ear flop moment here. Again, I love how whenever the characters are sad, how it shows their ears just kind of flop down. And then we see this moment again with Fluttershy here, and I love this angle, this like menacing angle of Fluttershy and the shadows that the characters are casting up against her. And they're trying to get Fluttershy to be aggressive. They're talking about how she was shy before. And I love this moment. And then this guy, this one doofus, this one D-bag here makes the mention that he wasn't in the book. And Starlight, basically, she was... let me hear that one line a minute here. Oh, yeah. First off, that one guy says, we want answers, and that woman says, we're entitled to know. That depends on your viewpoint of self-entitlement, prick. That depends. You may not be entitled to know answers, you know, especially if you're assertive like that. And so, you might want to rethink that. Again, she says, we want to know why Fluttershy keeps learning the same thing over and over again. Be assertive. You know what? Again, it's called character development. Because it's not just characters, it's people. Every single person in life will encounter a moment where they will learn something in pertaining to a flaw that they have. That's not going to be the only time you're going to encounter that, because that's your flaw. There will be other times in life where you will have to learn something else in regard to that flaw. This is what is going on. There are constant moments in life, not just in the characters here, but in real life, where you encounter something that is pertaining to the flaw that you have. And you have to overcome that hurdle. And I feel exactly that this is like some people's question to the writers. Why do you keep having Fluttershy learn the same thing? And this guy says, I've learned more than she has. Why can't I be in the book? Oh my gosh. There are people like that. There are people like that, hey, I learned more than this person. I've learned more than this character. Why am I not famous? Why am I not in it? Maybe because of your self-entitled, selfish, and egotistical personality. Did you ever stop to think about that? No, you haven't, because obviously you can't see your own flaws. Because people in real life are like that. They think they're perfect. They think they deserve that. And they don't see their own flaws. And I love that moment whenever Starlight walks up and whenever she lifts the guy up and she calls Fluttershy her friend. Like, she's like, this is my friend. I'm defending her. I love that. I love that. Like 2 thumbs up, major props. Major props. Major props to Starlight here. And I love that moment whenever she has him lifted up. This is like the real life equivalent to walking up to somebody who is like acting like that to a friend of yours, and you just walk up to them and you just grab their shirt collar and you've got them held by their shirt collar and you're just on the brink. You're just waiting for them to just say one thing so that you can turn their head into a bottle cap. And again, honestly, if I had magic, I'll be honest. If I had magic and I ran into somebody like that, I would hurl them into the farthest dumpster that I could find. I'll be completely honest with you, because it would just be hilarious. Just be like, taking out the trash. Whee! And then I love that moment whenever Fluttershy stood up. Yes. And honestly, what Fluttershy said here, it's so point on. It's like point blank. Boom! In your face. And this goes not just to the some people within the fandom, but this goes to people in real life. Fluttershy, she doesn't keep learning the same lesson. She learns lessons pertaining to her flaws. We all do. She said it's taken her a while. It's taken her a while to get there, and you know what? That's fine, because again, it's relatable. It's like real life. It takes us all. Pardon me. Every single one of us learns at a different pace, yo. Every single one of us learns at a different pace with things pertaining to our flaws. Fluttershy takes some time. Some people do. I hate it whenever I despise it whenever someone automatically thinks that you should learn, that you should know something just like that. I would just want to grab them by their shirt collar and be like, dude, shut the freak up, okay? Everybody learns at a different pace. Stop thinking everybody should learn at the same pace you do. And Fluttershy, Fluttershy is more assertive now, but that doesn't mean that she's going to suddenly become Chuck Norris. That's not her character. Fluttershy is still shy. The point is that she is more assertive. She is more able to stand up for herself and her friends whenever she is prompted to. Fluttershy is the point is not for her to suddenly start wearing a bandana around her head and start wearing a bullet belt around her waist. That's not the point of her character. The point is not to stray away from her original character, but to help build on that and add more to it. The point is not to change her natural character, but to add more to that character. And like I said, she's not just suddenly going to be doing karate with every other pony that comes across her that ticks her off. She's not just suddenly going to become Chuck Norris. No, she is more assertive. But again, it's kind of like, okay, you know what? I can relate to Fluttershy. I can. I honestly can relate to Fluttershy. Because back some years ago, like 6, 7 years ago, I would more not say anything to people. I would just not really say, I would not really say anything. I would just let things go. However, over the years, especially the past few years, I've gotten more assertive myself. I've gotten more to that. I have more of an attitude. I will more stand up. I will more say things whenever I see something. Before, if my boss would have said something to me, I wouldn't have said anything back. But now, like, okay, for like example, one of my bosses, there was a bias situation where they got onto me for blowing my nose. They literally got onto me for blowing my nose. I was in the bathroom for just a couple of minutes blowing my nose, washing my hands. They got onto me over it. Yet here they are just standing around talking, showing somebody on their phone for 10 straight minutes. And before, I would just let it pass. This happened last year. I'm not that way anymore. I walked up to that guy and I said, you know what? You told me get back to work. Why are you here not doing anything either? And I said, and oh, he got mad at me. And I'm happy I did. And I'd do it again. I don't care. I don't like people. If somebody's going to tell me what to do, then, I mean, if somebody's going to get on to me for something, I always try to look at both perspectives here. The guy gets on to me, says, I'm not working. Yeah, here he was standing around for 10 minutes. And again, I walked up to him, and he got mad at me. And he said, I'm the boss, you do what I say. I said, don't be biased on me. This is my boss that I'm talking to here. I said, don't be biased on me. I don't like biased people. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me to do my job if you're not going to do yours. Again, never. And again, I love that moment. I love that moment because, again, before, I would have kept my mouth shut. I would have tucked my tail between my legs. However, the things that I have experienced have made me be like Fluttershy. I can relate to Fluttershy because, again, I know that feeling. I'm not assertive all the time. Only whenever I'm prompted to in that moment to be so. Otherwise, it doesn't come out. It's kind of like a beast that is kind of locked up. Whenever the moment arises, you just unlock that cage and let it out. And then whenever it's over, it goes back into the cage. That's essentially what it is. And again, he doesn't like me now because he knows I will stand up to him. He knows I will point things out too. I will point out his flaws. I know I have flaws too. I'll be the first to actually admit that. But yeah, it was funny. He didn't talk to me for 6 straight months after that. He never said a word to me for 6 straight months after that. Because, again, I pointed out that he was doing worse than what I was doing. And, again, I can relate to that. And, again, people feeling that, and then and Fluttershy saying, and again, I understand Fluttershy here whenever she said, can you tell me that you actually learned something one time and it completely changed you? Yeah, I think it's hilarious. I think it's honestly biased, and I hate it whenever people try to point out your flaws. That and like with the characters here and in real life, where they're like, "You learned this before. How come How come it hasn't changed you?" Yet people like that, they fail. They do not. This woman that Fluttershy was talking to here, yeah, she got all sweat drop. She got all sweat drop there because she'd been backed into a corner. Fluttershy used logic. That's what I love here. Fluttershy used logic. And this person was like a troll. Well, not a troll. This person was like an overly negative person here that loves to point out your flaws and constantly belates you because you're not seeing any development, yet they don't see their own failure. They don't see their own flaws in that. And Fluttershy was able to look at this woman and say, or at this, and say, okay, when have you done what you're telling me to do? They couldn't say anything. Fluttershy backed her into a corner because Fluttershy used logic. Go Fluttershy! Go Flutters! This is what I try to do. I try to do exactly the same thing Fluttershy does and use logic. And you know what? I've backed some people into corners before. There are sometimes people have completely ignored me, not said a word. And sometimes, again, sometimes you just run into those people who they don't see your point of view. Whenever you're using logic, they just don't see your point of view. They only see their own. I try to look at things from a much wider scope because there is a wider scope to be viewed. And again, it's interesting that there are some people that just don't feel that, who cannot see their own flaws. They're so absorbed in seeing other people's flaws, they don't see their own, to try to develop their own flaws, to try to help them overcome them. And this one guy makes the mention, you're way different than the Fluttershy in the book, which is, I think, essentially somebody saying you're way different than the Fluttershy from the first season, from the first and second season. And then this guy saying, I don't know how I feel about that. You know what? You don't like, don't watch, don't look, don't listen. Simple as that. And then Rarity here, again, this moment whenever I love this little moment here. This cute little thing with these cute, again, I love the faces, the big eyes, little squishy cheeks. It's so cute. I love it. I love the characters. I love the designs. It's especially the facial expressions. It's really cute. And then I saw like a screen cap here of Rarity going at that moment where she just snaps. And oh my gosh, yes, the mascara running down her eyes, and she just full on snapped, and she's just full on crazy. And I love the cute little moment where Starlight has her hoof up, and she, her hair is kind of also protecting her face, she's just waiting for her to snap. It's a cute little detail, but I love it. I love it. It she's using her hair to hide herself, and obviously I'm not a female. If you haven't noticed that by now, I don't know what is wrong with your eyes. But I'm pretty sure there are some women that kind of do that reflexively, that kind of use their hair to hide themselves. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's cute. It's relatable. It's understandable. It's understandable. Some people do it. Some people don't. And I think it's cute that Starlight is one of those people that does. And Rarity was stress sewing. That's kind of a good thing, actually, because it's better than stress eating. Because if you stress eat, you're in for a world of hurt. You're in for a world of hurt. And so again, just my gosh, the faces here, the facial expressions, they have evolved so much. And then Rarity, that moment whenever she turns that head around on that mannequin, I think that was like that snapping moment. Honestly, like at one moment she just has the head just like I will snap its neck. Like it's really interesting here. And again, I feel bad for Rarity here. And and again, another little detail, but whenever Rarity is looking out the window and like how she's moving, like it's like her breathing, her erratic breathing. And again, I really don't understand why that people would cancel orders just because they did not like how Rarity was in the book. How she like the realistic version of her. And now they're rioting. Like I mean, and again, it's like that people in real life. Okay, you don't like the character. Why are you constantly protesting? Why are you constantly here? You've already made your point clear. You don't like this character. Why are you still here? These people could just move on with their lives. Okay, I don't like this character. Okay, fine, and move on with their lives. Do they not have anything better to do with their life than to stand outside Rarity's shop and protest that they don't like her? That is taking it too far. That is harassment. Rarity, you could file. You could honestly slap every single one of these guys with harassment. You could, because this is taking it way too far. And like they don't have a right to be protesting that they don't like you outside of your own shop. They could just move on with their lives, be normal. But obviously, every single one of these characters have nothing to do in their life but stand outside and protest that they don't like a character. There are people like that in, I mean, and again, this is referencing people in real life. And then that moment, Twilight starts to go outside. And this moment, like I saw this, like someone posted this screen to me over on Facebook. This moment with Twilight, which I will show, and Twilight suddenly, like, I love this cartoonish moment whenever Rarity suddenly bursts through the door and Twilight standing behind it. That's so cartoonish, man. I love it. And I had no idea. And then that moment whenever the door closes and Twilight's just standing there. Shoot, I'll try to pause it at that right moment here. I tried to pause it at that right moment. Twilight just standing there, and she just got smacked with the door. I kind of was expecting a bit more of a cartoonish thing with like the face being frozen. But Twilight was just standing there. Shoot, I'm trying to get a screen cap to get that. Okay, there we go. And like Twilight's just standing there, like almost like she, like the cartoonish style of a door opening up, just in your face, and you're just like, thanks for looking. Thanks for barging in. You broke my dang nose. And again, I love that little moment. That it was cartoonish, and I loved it. It was so good. It was cool. And it honestly confused me there because Applejack makes a mention that she's popular. I kind of, and again, I love this little moment here. Hold on, briefly. I love this little moment here. I love how Starlight felt more involved with her friends here. I think this was another character building moment personally for me, for her. And I love this little moment here, this tiny little moment where she's just looking at Rarity and she sees Rarity's stress and she wants to be able to help, but she doesn't know what to do. And again, I love how this little scene progresses, how she just looks at her, blinks, and she just like moves her head like she's uncertain. It's a tiny detail, but I love it. I absolutely adore this because it's really, really good. It really shows that Starlight feels concerned for her and she wants to help her, but she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know how. She doesn't know how she can help. And again, that's a terrible feeling, is whenever you see somebody stressed out and you don't know how to help. Whenever you see someone you care about is bothered and you don't know what to do. It hurts. You feel useless. And all these characters just hanging around the apple farm. Hey, it's Salt Lake, he's back. From the episode where we got to see the buffalo. The episode where we got to see the buffalo. He's back. Haven't seen him since Appaloosa. Haven't seen him since then, since he got kicked out. And again, we got to see this little character come back. The character I loved before. This girl over on the left in like the brown jacket with the hat. I love seeing her come back. Pretty cute. And I just now noticed something, that every single one of the characters have tape on their flanks, and they have these cutie marks regarding apples in some shape, way, or form taped onto some of their flanks because they feel connected to the Apple family because of what they read. Which is kind of interesting because this is, some people, like they're taking it upon themselves to be, just put themselves into that family. And I don't really see that, honestly. And again, I love this little moment whenever this one character takes a selfie. Like, oh my gosh, selfies have been introduced. And I love this little character. Actually, this character kind of makes me think of Crabapple. I think it's Winged Wolf's. It's Winged Wolf's OC. It's Winged Wolf's OC. This character makes me think of Crabapple. Very cute. It's not the same color. Like, the hair is similar, kind of. Like, the reddish color with the braids. But, like, the color is different. Like, the body color is different. But, again, it's really cute. And, again, it makes you think of that. But, again, honestly would have thought... Some people believe that Applejack is, like, the least important of the main six. And so, yeah. Ponies actually trying to include themselves. And honestly, I think that's kind of a reference. Now, I personally don't see the connection with the fandom on that, but I kind of can see that as a reference to, like, people on YouTube in general. How some people look at other, like, famous YouTubers and they automatically think, oh my gosh, this person spoke to me once. That automatically means we're friends. That automatically means, like, you're considered a friend by this person. You can be hanging out with this person. It does not always mean that. Does not always mean that. And again, I love the atmosphere with this particular episode whenever Twilight is looking out the window. I really love the atmosphere with the scene. A very sad, very downtrodden scene. And Twilight looks out the window, and Starlight makes a mention about looking out the window, and she realizes, I mean, it's like, oh, okay, that's bad. Yeah, that's bad. Like, that's bad. Whenever character looking out the window, that's bad. And Starlight was, like, it's kind of interesting because essentially both characters here were right and wrong. Starlight was right because she knew that Twilight published the book because Twilight wanted to help. She knew that she published the book because she wanted to help. And Starlight didn't see the flaw in that. Yet also, Twilight was right because if she hadn't have published the book in the first place, none of this would have happened. And so both characters were right. Twilight didn't do anything wrong because she had the best of intentions whenever she tried to do what she did. Yet Twilight was wrong because it backfired, although she couldn't help it. You know, if she hadn't have had the idea in the first place, it honestly wouldn't have happened. And honestly, both characters are right here. And it's hard because that is a decision a lot of times that we've had to make. Like, even if you have the best of intentions, it could backfire. Anything could backfire. And it's a decision, do I do it anyway? Do I take the chance? Do I take the risk? And it's something that only you can actually make your mind up on. And I love this little moment as well. Whenever, and again, we have the picture we have this little picture here. This picture that we saw at the beginning of the season that Twilight has with all of the characters that she met over her life. And I love this little moment whenever Twilight, like, pulls down, like, whenever she has her ears and she pulls her ears down. That's cute. That's cute. And I love this little moment whenever she says, I had the big idea. I love that little face that she makes. It's adorable how, like, one ear's flopped down, the other one's raised. I love this little scene. It's really, really cute. I love the facial expressions in this episode. It's really cute, the body language and things like that. It's really, really well done. It's really cute. And then it was interesting how whenever they opened the door, suddenly they see their friends standing outside like, help me! And they're all stressed and they're all just exhausted. Applejack doesn't have any time for herself because everybody's hanging around her, wanting to be a part of the family whenever they're not blood, whenever they're not part of that. Pinkie feels that she's like just overly funny with everything that she does, and even she's getting kind of tired of it. Rainbow makes a mention about can't go to the bathroom, which is interesting because I don't think we haven't had a reference of the bathroom term or even the word bathroom since actually the same episode that I mentioned prior with Appaloosa. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. It was in the episode where they had to try to track down Applejack and Pinkie had to go to the bathroom. And then again, Fluttershy is like stressed. Like she's stressed. And again, what I mentioned about that beast before, it's coming out. And Fluttershy is just really stressed. And then at the moment whenever Rarity begins to use his tape measure, and Fluttershy just turns around to her, and she's just like, measure me one more time, and I will end you. It's like, go ahead, tempt me. Tempt me. I'm not in a effing good mood right now. Or I'm so peeved right now with Fluttershy. And it's like, go ahead, try me. And every single character is stressed beyond their boiling point here. And honestly, Starlight makes a mention that she could find some pony who could help. Honestly, I thought what they were going to do was just going to go back in time and like make it so the book wasn't published. That's kind of what I honestly thought they were going to do. But again, I really love this song. Again, now I see where the song came from because I saw like the song itself was on YouTube. I saw remixes and I'm like, okay, this must be a good song. It is a good song. It's perfect. It's a great, relatable, and understandable song. Not just for the characters, not just for the brony community, but people in general. You know, we're all flawed. We all have our flaws. We all have our dents, bumps, bangs. We're all we're all different. We all have we all are flawed. We are all flawed. And there are times whenever we have to try to overcome those flaws. It doesn't mean we're going to overcome them and learn our lesson the first time. It doesn't mean that. There are moments whenever we have to overcome them, and it takes time. Some of us takes longer than others to try to overcome those flaws, and it's a learning process. We have to learn as we go, and we have to grow and evolve. Like flowers, we can't grow and be beautiful overnight. It takes time. Some of us can never be beautiful. It takes time for us to try to grow and learn and evolve as time progresses. That's what life is, growing, evolving, and learning. And that's what we have to do, and that's what the characters are doing. And Starlight was able to help because she found these two little fillies who the book helped them to become stronger, And Applejack made the mention about the characters are still outside bickering, moaning, complaining. And Twilight was just like, live in the moment. Just live in the moment. I love it because, again, it didn't end with a completely happy ending with everybody agreeing, everybody getting along. It didn't do that. Everybody was still... everybody still had their own views, their own ideas. They were bickering and complaining. And that's like the fandom. That's like people. People will always disagree. It's our own flaw. It's our own flaw. Every single... Sorry, every single one of us are different. Every single one of us have our own viewpoints. It's natural. But whenever we begin to force our opinions on others, whenever we begin to assert ourselves to the opinions, we lose sight that everybody has a different opinion, and that you can agree to disagree and still be friends. You can still move on with your life. But there are some people who they just have to bicker. They just have to argue. They just have to make people know that they hate this, that they hate that. What's the point? Why are you so invested? Why does it matter so much that everybody has to know how much you hate this or hate that? What's the point? And I can totally see I understand. I mean, I see this episode. I see why. I see this episode is a great reference to not just the fandom, but to people in general in real life. And again, I know there's going to be some people that's probably going to be mad, probably going to say, you know what, this is a reference to the fandom. The fandom's bad. Nope, nope. It's not. It's not the fandom. It's people. Because, like I said, I can see references to this outside of the fandom. I can look at this, and I don't see just the fandom. I see people outside of the fandom in real life. I see people in reality. Like I said, for me, I can see relatability in this because I have a different viewpoint. I have a different understanding than anyone else does. And I love doing reviews because I think it's fun. Personally, I love it. I love being able to delve and analyze and review. But I know that basically every single time someone does a review, every time someone analyzes something, they're putting their own view out there for others to actually listen to. And sometimes they can point out something that someone else didn't see, someone else didn't get. I doubt I'll be able to do that with this. But again, I can see relatability, not just for the fandom. And I really hope that other people see that too. It's not just the fandom that they're referring to here. It is the fandom, but I believe that it also speaks volumes about people outside the fandom as well. Because there are people who are too assertive, too overly critical, too overly negative about things, who question things too much, who feel that they deserve an answer, who feel that they are entitled to an answer. People who just want to be selective and only select the bad and focus on it instead of allowing the good, instead of seeing the good. People who demand too much from these characters, and not just these characters, but other people in real life. I can see that. And I can see the relatability. I can understand it. And I know some others should hopefully be able to see that as well. And like I said, I know some people are probably going to be mad thinking Hasbro's mad at the fandom. This is what the writers, this is what Hasbro thinks of the fandom today. I don't believe that that's what they think of the whole fandom as a whole. I mean, as the fandom as a whole. I really don't. There are bad aspects in every single fandom. And to anyone that says that the Brony fandom is bad, they obviously haven't been around enough or looked around enough. There are bad people in every single fandom. Every single fandom. But it's not the fandom itself, it's the people in the fandom. These people were like this before they entered the fandom, and they will be like this after they leave the fandom. It doesn't matter. Them being in the fandom, it's not the fandom itself, it's the people. And for me, I can see that in this episode. I can see the relatability, a lot of the relatability. The references to the different aspects, to the way people view things within the community, to the way people view the episodes, to the way people analyze different things that the fandom itself cranks out. This speaks volumes. But like I said, this needs to be done. This needed to be done. And I'm personally glad that it was done. And me personally, I love this episode. I love this episode. I love how that it was done. I love the way that it was done. I love the different messages that it had about the different characters, individually. I love how this episode played out. I love it. This is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the season. I, myself, like I said, there are good people in this fandom. I know that 100%. There are good people in this fandom. There are good people in the community. There are good fanfiction writers. There are good artists. There are good musicians. There are good animators. There are good reviewers, and there are good reviewers, reactors, analysts. I don't consider myself one of them. I don't believe in giving myself credit. I don't believe in giving myself more credit than I feel that I deserve, and I don't feel I deserve any credit. So I don't put myself in that. But there are people, good people in this community. There are good people within this community. But there are bad people within this community too. There are people that are too assertive with their opinions. There are people that are too overly critical or too overly negative. People that can constantly focus on the bad to the point that they don't see the good in everything else. People that constantly hate on a character just because it helps their nuts to feel better. There is people like that. But then it's not just in this fandom. I know for a fact it's in other areas. It's in other fandoms too. I know that for a fact. But like I said, I really love this episode. It was cute. It was fun. And it's relatable. And that's one of my favorite kinds of episodes, is whenever it can be adorable, whenever it can be fun, but at the same time it have a good message, a good relatable message. And I understand this, not just as a brony, but as a human being, as an individual. Because again, I can see things in the story here that doesn't just apply to the fandom, that applies to people in real life. I can see that. And like I said, that was my view on this episode. That was my view on it. And I may do a follow-up video as well talking about this. I've already been going for an hour and 50 minutes with this, so this is my longest video to date with an episode. So yeah, I'll probably have to, if I continue further with this, I will have to make a second video and expand on that. Have like another discussion about that. But again, that are my thoughts with this episode. And again, I loved it. I really loved this episode. And again, to M.A. Larson, thank you. Thank you for writing this episode the way that you did. Thank you for doing this episode the way you did. Thank you for writing each of the individual aspects with each of the characters, for writing it the way you did. Thank you for this episode. And to everybody that animated as well, thank you to everybody that worked on this episode. And I personally want to say, I know they'll never watch this episode. I know M.A. Larson, I know nobody will ever see this, but in case, just on this tiniest minuscule chance that anyone ever does, there are good people in the fandom. There are good people in the fandom. I'm not going to say I'm not going to put myself in that. I'm not going to say that I'm one of those people. I'm not, because again, I don't want to give myself credit that I don't feel that I deserve, and I don't deserve any credit. But there are good people within this community. We're not all hypocrites. Not everybody is hypocrites. Not everybody are overly analytical. Not everybody are overly negative. There are good people within this community. And I personally want to say thank you for this episode. This was a brilliant episode. It was a wonderful episode. It was creative. It was very intelligent with the way that it was done, how that it worked it into a way that fits with the show, but also works with the fandom. It was perfect in that sense, and I mean, it was perfect in the way that you were able to do it within the time frame that you were actually given. So again, obviously there's more that could have been, there's more I'm sure that could have been done if the episode could have been longer, but again, it was perfect to me in the way that it was done within the time span that you had, within the 22 minutes that you had. So again, to M.A. Larson, to everybody that worked on this episode, thank you to everybody for this brilliant, relatable, and needed to be done episode. The fandom needed this episode. The fandom needed this episode. And so, again, because this was a dose of reality, and this needed to be done. And again, I know there are people that are going to look at it and say, that they won't see their own flaws. They won't see their own problems. But it's their loss. It's their problem, because they can't see their own. And again, thank you to everybody that worked on this episode. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for this episode. M.A. Larson, dude, thank you. Thank you so much for this episode. Again, it was creative. It was brilliant. It was it was creative, it was intelligent, and how that just every aspect of it, personally, to me, like how the characters' stories interweaved, how every single character was confronted with basically different bronies' views of different bronies and Pegasisters' views on each of the characters developing personalities and traits. It was interesting to see how that was intricately woven into this story. And again, it was wonderfully done. It was wonderfully creative. It was brilliantly done. And so again, thank you to everybody that did this episode. Thank you, M.A. Larson. Thank you, everybody at Hasbro DHX. Thank you so much. And again, hope you enjoyed my reaction and analysis on this episode. This was probably my longest analysis to date. But again, as you can tell, probably whenever something comes up that is kind of personal to me, yeah, I begin to do a long video on it. So again, I'm going to end this video here. If you want me to further discuss this even further, I can do a follow-up video, but I can't do it now because I'm already 2 hours. So I need to end this now, and here I am still rambling on like an idiot. But again, that was my personal opinion, my personal thoughts on it. So I hope you enjoyed. Again, feel free to disagree. It doesn't matter to me. Feel free to agree. Feel free to disagree, like I said. But whatever. All I'm asking, please be civil. Please use logic. Please be logical. That's all that I ask. And I'm not saying that for regard to my channel. I'm saying that in other aspects of life. Like, look at things from a logical perspective. You know, that's what I try to do. I try to look at things from a logical perspective. I try, and I'm not perfect. I'm not going to always be able to do that. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not perfect. I don't have the perfect way of looking at things. I don't. I'm wrong a lot of the time. But I try to keep an open mind. I try to develop myself. I try to better myself for others, for those around me, for myself, because I want to get better. I want to be better. And I keep striving. I'll probably never get there, but it's a long road, but it's one that I want to travel because I don't want to just stay one way. I want to develop myself to be better for those around me. I want to continue to develop my mindset so that I can understand, so that I can look at things from a good perspective, so that I can see so that I can see logic, and I don't have a clouded point of view. But again, thank you again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed. Again, let me know what you think in the comments below. And again, if you really want me to do a follow-up video again, I can do one talking about this again, because I have to end this video now because it's 2 freaking hours long. But again, thank you again for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video that I do. Take care.